Sunday of Advent to you, a blessed Advent to everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started, and I have just a little something to read on waiting and expectation as we step into the first Sunday of Advent. It impresses me that all the figures who appear on the first pages of Luke's gospel are waiting. Zechariah and Elizabeth are waiting. Mary is waiting. Simeon and Anna, who were there at the temple when Jesus was brought in, are waiting. The whole opening scene of the good news is filled with waiting people. And right at the beginning, all those people in some way or another hear the words, "Do not be afraid. I have something good to say to you." Those words set the tone and the context. Now, Zechariah and Elizabeth, Mary, Simeon, and Anna are waiting for something new and good to happen to them. So welcome. Happy first Sunday of Advent. My name's Christine. I'm one of the pastors here, and we have a few things going on this Advent that I want to invite you into as we are awaiting expectant people this season. If you are just joining us in this last year and haven't received a wreath yet, we have Advent boxes and envelopes. So the idea is that each week there's a devotion that you can do in your household. And if you have not been around, then take a white box that has a wreath in it. If you have been around and have guarded your wreath every year, then you can take the envelope with the new updated devotions for each week. So those are available to everybody, so feel free to take those. They start today, and it's a weekly devotion available to you. Also, starting today, this afternoon, is our Activist Advent. So we're in a rhythm of contemplation and activism, peace and grace. And so I'm hosting Activist Advent from noon to 2 each week of Advent. And this week, we're going to be at the Prayer Labyrinth at the Downtown Rec Center at noon today. So if you'd like to join us, it's 1860 Anaheim Avenue. Come talk to me after if you didn't RSVP. Also, starting today, immediately following service in the courtyard is rehearsals for caroling night. So we take our caroling very seriously here. We'll have rehearsals. Dave's excited about it. He'll be leading the rehearsals. Just come out here. You'll see people gathering. I was very impressed. They came to my house. I think we were sick last year, and there was two-part harmony happening. So it was pretty impressive. So be there for rehearsals. You don't have to sing that well. It's fine. Just go. Also, to kick off our Advent season together, we will be here at 6 p.m. tonight for a prayer and worship service. And so that's just been a tradition and special time to kind of bookend our Advent season with a prayer and worship night to kick off Advent, the first Sunday of Advent. And then we have Christmas Eve service on Christmas Eve here at 4 p.m. So that's how we're going to be journeying through this season together and are expectant and waiting as we just read, trusting that something new and good is breaking into the world as it did on Christmas. Also coming up, you guys, I know some people freaked out when I said we have an announcement for January, but this one takes some preparation. So we are going to be doing a border pilgrimage January 11th through 12th. We're going with a group called Journey Home. And that is a 24-hour exploration pilgrimage to just understand better what is happening at the border, to understand more the journey that immigrants go through, the people that are working and supporting. And so I invite you, this is part of our kind of peacemaking education, our peacemaking formation. If you are interested at all or just curious about that, I invite you to fill out the interest form, which is on our website. We have an orientation meeting with the facilitator December 9th. And so if you fill out that interest form, you'll get all the details about that. So if you're curious at all, I encourage you to fill out the interest form, and we will fill you in on all that. All right, one of our values here is generosity, and we live that out in a variety of ways in our life together as a church and our lives individually. And I just want to invite you to give to the church, give as a part of your formation, give as a way of releasing control, again, to the Lord. And so you can do that at the box at the Connect table, or you can do that online. If you're just joining us and you're like, I don't know how to take all this in. This is my first time here. What's going on? You can fill out a Connect card at that table back there, and I'll reach out to you and fill you in and just get to know you a little bit more and share with you a little bit more about who we are as a church. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we get to start Advent together. Mike's going to come up and kick us off, lead us more into our Advent time.
Good morning. Merry Christmas. We can say that now. Yeah, I know. I've gotten mixed reviews from people, so it's very clear when I say Merry Christmas, and you're not really big on Christmas, I take it. Not that excited about the holidays, and some of you are just like, yes, finally, I've been waiting for Christmas all year long. Well, here we are. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We just got back. Our family got back last night from Oregon. We were up there at Bend. Jesse flew with the baby. Me and the kids took a motorhome and barely made it back on a motorhome. We had like the whole Cousin Eddie experience from Christmas Vacation on the motorhome. And so, but we're here. If you want to know more about it, we'll grab lunch and we'll just talk your ear off about how it's being a miracle that we made it back to Orange County in the motorhome that we had. And so, excited to kick off another month. And today is the first day of Advent. And if you've been tracking with us, or if you haven't been tracking with us, we are working our way through Colossians all fall. And December, we're kicking off Colossians chapter 4. But the way that we're going to lean into Colossians 4 and begin to explore what's actually going on in that passage is Paul goes through just a series of reflection and remembrance as he's affirming the church in Colossae. They're a young church, and he begins to just call out different names of people that are a part of the church in Colossians. Maybe some names that you haven't heard of or that you're not familiar with. We'll get into this more next week from Formation Sunday, and we'll dig in and read and unpack a little bit more in that. But what's particularly encouraging is that Paul is expanding our perspective of just how impactful the church is in a specific community. That it's not just made up by one or two faithful people, it's actually made up by a whole community. And it's because of the community's faithfulness, the partnership in the gospel, the working for the kingdom of God and within the kingdom of God, that Paul starts to just call out different names. And Christine and I were reading through this and praying through this, thinking through what would this look like for our own community. And we began to reflect and think about a lot of you in our community who are faithful, who are participating, who are doing your best to follow Jesus, who are on a journey. And what this makes this community so special and so unique is that it is made up by a lot of us here. Like, we are who we are because of this entire community. It's not just one or two people that make up this community. It's a whole bunch of us that we would look back and say it's because of who you are and the journey that you're on, the vulnerability that you've experienced, the leaning in, getting into community groups, praying, participating, that we are who we are. And so we want to kind of pick up where Paul does in Colossians chapter 4, and we want to just take some time for Exploration Sunday to highlight and really to invite 4 different people from our community to really who are embodying the different themes of Advent: hope, peace, joy, and love. And the encouraging thing is we had some pre-service prayer outside, and Braden was like, these were just small examples. Like, this is everywhere. And there's something that God is doing in this community that we feel profound as we step into Advent to really learn from one another, to kind of lean in and see how these different themes of Advent have been working itself out all year as we step into, as we approach Christmas. And so Advent is an exciting time for the church. It's probably my favorite tradition that we have in the church in the liturgical calendar year, where we get to actually say that, like, Jesus, he's the light of the world. Like, Jesus is hope. Jesus is peace. Jesus is joy. Jesus is love. And he invites us to participate with him in those things. And so that's where we're going. Excited about this month. Excited that you're here. And I think God's got something for each and every one of us as we continue to look to the coming of Jesus for Christmas. And so I am going to invite up Danny. We're going to start by that. And one of our traditions around here is that we light the Advent candle. And today is hope. And so, Danny, come on up. You can light one of the purple candles. And as he lights that, we'll explain what we're doing next. Thanks, Danny. You can grab a microphone. So one of the other parts of Exploration Sunday that we lean into every single month is artistic opening, and that we believe worship, you'll notice that there's not a worship band up here, and that's intentional because we believe that like worship is much broader than just singing songs, right? Like God has given us gifts. He's wired us in different ways that bring him glory. And so for us, this is an intentional rhythm that we have to express our worship and our creativity in more ways than just song. And so Danny's going to start us off with a poem and a reflection on hope. There will be an art piece that comes up, and he has a quote that he's going to read. And then each of our panelists are going to come up, and they're going to read theirs as well that connect to their specific words. So first is hope.
Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.
All right, Braden, who is representing peace this morning.
This is the story of Advent. We join Jesus as incarnations of God's peace on this earth for however long it takes. God walks in deep solidarity with humanity, sharing in our sufferings and moments of hope. Amid our hardship, God is with us. Emmanuel remains the name on our lips in troubled times. Advent isn't the acceptance of status quo peace, but an incarnation of God's peace that we live in the world. The peacemakers formed by Advent are those who resist empire, who practice hospitality with neighbors, and who enter into solidarity with God in the work of liberation for everyone. May there be calm, bright nights ahead for the peacemakers, the meek, and all people God accompanies through Advent still.
Thanks, Braden. Denise is for joy. Let's welcome Denise.
Joy to the world. The Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room.
Thank you. David. Let's welcome David. He's representing love.
Matthew 25:35 and 36. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me.
Beautiful. Thanks, David. All right. Let's welcome up Christine back to the front while we're welcoming.
Thanks, Mike. Well, it's good to be up here together. Thanks, y'all, for saying yes to doing this. I've been looking forward to this. Let's start, Danny, if you want to start on that end, and just can you share your name and how long you've been at Redemption, and just say again the theme that you're representing today.
So yeah, my name is Daniel, or Danny. A lot of you guys know me. I've been here for about a year now. Right after I finished high school, Christine just dragged me in here. So
Does anybody else have that same story? Okay, Moses.
But I mean, it's been great. I've got to meet a lot of you guys, which has been pretty cool. I've made a connection with a whole bunch of you guys, which I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, the one Advent theme I'm doing is hope. So yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Denise McPhee, married to Barry over there in the corner. Yay, Barry. We've been coming to Redemption about 7 years, and my theme is joy, and I will be looking forward to sharing that with you.
My name is Braden. Casey and Quinn and I have been at Redemption for a little over a year now.
Hi, my name's David. About 7 years, 25 years. I was here waiting for you guys. And my theme is love.
Wonderful. Peace. There we go. Yeah. Well, we'll start with you, Danny, and we'll kind of work our way down to each of you, but we would love to hear, just as we're thinking about hope for you particularly, what has God been teaching you about hope this year?
Well, so like throughout this year, I mean, I think I've explained like the story with a couple of you guys, not like all of you guys, but I had another, well, not me, but like I have a baby brother. He was like 7 months. He was born premature at like 23 weeks old. So, I mean, it's been kind of like rough, like the last couple of months, not really now, but just like we were just in and out of the hospital every day, just like checking up on him. He was like literally the size of my hand. I always tell people that. Now he's just a big baby now, just cries all the time, just can't get him to stop crying. But I mean, just during like that time, I just like, it was a whole bunch of patience, you know, just like as a kid, like I'd always like go in and out of church, but I never really stay committed to one. So it was just like, I was just here and in and out, just like I always like believed in God and stuff like that, but it was not like the connection I've like grew over like this last year. So I mean, I guess the hope that I have in him has changed like from when I was like 12 years old to now where I'm 19. And it's taught me a lot of patience where like say I do pray for like, when I was praying for my brother, it was not like, I mean, as much as I wanted it to be like as soon as possible, I knew that wasn't possible. It was just like, it's just a matter of time, you know? Like just like those last like 3 months of just seeing him grow. Like over time, like when he was born, he wasn't even crying. And then months later, he started crying. And then now he can't stop crying. So it's just like, I don't know, it's taught me a lot for sure. And just like also just like this community in general, just I'm telling you, like so many people like reached out to me, so many people helped me, and it's just like, I'm just like super appreciative of like what everyone has done for me and stuff like that. So just, I don't know, it just means a lot to me. And then just seeing him now, it just like, it's so much like joy in our family, just seeing he had like a 50% chance of living, and now he's just like a grown baby, just smiling, crying, and doing all the baby stuff. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, Denise, we'll come to you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, we can just stay. We'll just go down. That's fine. Yeah, that's great. When it comes to joy, like how have you been experiencing joy?
Okay, well, I'm going to first start by saying, since I'm the only woman or girl up here, I brought tissue. Because you never know, like when you really start to share from your heart, like what might happen. And even though my word is joy, you know, joy for me a lot has come out of sorrow or out of pain or just out of experiences that have led me to know, like, there really is Jesus. There really is something more than just this, I'll call it a feeling, even though joy can be a feeling. So I want to share a story with you about our granddaughter, Talia, 3 years old. And it happened on Thanksgiving. And sometimes I think stories can just maybe, like music, just share something on different levels, because joy means something different to each one of us at times. So on Thanksgiving, you know, some of us are in the kitchen, some of us are just watching football, and then some are going inside, outside with the kids. We have a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and 3-year-old grandkids, so it was busy. So Talia, the 3-year-old, comes running into me and says, "Sparkle," and that's my grandma name. She says, "Sparkle, do you want to go ride my scooter with me around the block?" And I said, sure, let's go. So she gets her scooter, and this is like a little plastic, you know, preschool scooter, but it's her prized possession, and she thinks she can like lean into it and do zigzags and do turns, and she just loves this. So she's doing all of this. We get halfway around the block, and she just stops abruptly, and she hops off, holds it with one hand, the handle, and she says, "Sparkle, do you want to turn now?" And I said, sure. So I'm walking over to the scooter and thinking, okay, whatever you do, don't break this scooter, you know. But I go about, maybe one house distance, and I stop and I said to her, I go, "Talia, thank you so much for being a good sharer. That really made Sparkle happy." And she smiles, she gets back on the scooter, and after about 2 strides, she hops off and she looks at me, and it was with this like 3-year-old innocence. And her lip is quivering a little bit, and she says, "Sparkle, you know what?" And I said, "What?" She goes, sometimes it's really hard to share. And I said, I know, honey, sometimes it's really, really hard for me to share too. And in that moment, in that eye contact and just that moment of purity, of just innocence and of closeness, like I felt with her such a powerful sense of joy. And I think that oftentimes joy for me can mean just that. Doesn't even have to have words sometimes. It's just that security, that trust, that ability to be vulnerable, knowing that that person will share in whatever it is in that moment that's happening. So it's a glimpse of joy.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You have the coolest grandma name ever, by the way. Yeah. Same question, right?
Yes, yeah.
For me, I feel like over the last year, God has been teaching me that peace is more than just calm amidst the storm, which I feel like that was something that when you think about like these Advent words, if you've grown up in the church, like there's a sense of Jesus' peace, and that means that like things are going to be all right, which I think is beautiful. But when a world is seemingly falling apart, and when people's lives are falling apart, when there's shattered pieces everywhere, I think peace needs to be a little more full. And so I think the word of peace, not to be that like Theo bro that talks about the original word, but like the word peace is like shalom or wholeness. And I think there's something really beautiful about that wholeness is what we need in a broken world and in lives that are broken. And so for me, I've been learning about what that means for peace to actually be wholeness. I think about Dr. Martin Luther King's quote that's often quoted on MLK Day, but we could quote it every day actually, is that true peace is not the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. And I think there's really something beautiful about that peace. For Jesus to be peace, that means that we are made whole, and this world is made whole, and our relationships are made whole, and our broken systems are made whole.
Well said.
I got my own microphone.
Amazing. It's great.
Theo bro. Christine and I were like, what? I've never heard that. I'm stealing that. I love that. I'm what's known as a love bomber. And so,
You got a Theo bro and a love bomb.
yeah. I'm not good at following the rules. So before I begin, I just wanted to, since my theme is love, I wanted to take the time to tell you I love you, sister, and I'm so glad you're a pastor. And I was looking around here one day, and I'm not supposed to talk about my wife anymore. And she said, "Don't bring me up. Don't make jokes."
Then don't do it.
But it's not a joke.
Okay.
So I turned to her and I said, "Man, wow, it just seemed like so many people are here." And I said to her, I was like, man, I really hope that Pastor Christine is she, because she knows you more than I do now. I was like, I hope she's happy and like excited and filled with joy. This is so awesome. And that's coming from a place of me just going, as I have one foot out all the time. But what's great about that is I got a clear view. And from my perspective, I just go, man, that was not an easy season from my perspective. And what I love about you is I've only met a few people in my life that I was like, oh, that's Jesus. And where I'm like, just in having a conversation, I go, and even if I'm in a place, which I often am, of kind of with my arms folded to God, even in those moments, which have been many, every conversation I've had with you, I'm like, oh, she really knows him. And I don't know if you'll take this well or not, but I'm going to say it. The times that I really could feel the presence of God when you were speaking is when you led with authenticity, which is not easy to do. And I just, I shouldn't say this because you're my pastor, but I'm going to say it anyway. I was like, oh, I am so proud of her. Even though it's weird to say that because I look up to you. Even though I'm the worst Christian I know. But I can still say it easily to go, man, I look at you and I go, man, that, in terms of following Christ, that's somebody I'd like to be like. And I say that with going, but don't count on it. I may not. But I will say that, like, especially at a church in Orange County where it's often about comfort and not about love. I'm not saying that they don't love from time to time and do their best in this and that, but love is often messy and dirty and uncomfortable, and following the Spirit, as the Scripture says, you never know where it's coming or going. And I feel that here all the time, and I'm like, oh, good, that means I think we're on the right track. I'm just very grateful for you that this church, whether I stay or go, has a leader like you. I really mean it. That's not what I was going to say. So I know I'm breaking the rules. So, okay, here's the story. Yeah, here's the real story. Here's the real story. So we used to do these retreats all about the love of God, inviting people to learn about how God loves them, to not know it, but to experience it, which is what I really think the Scripture is talking about. And what would happen at these things is we would get everybody from like porn addicts to pastors. We did this for about 10 years, and pastors that were porn addicts, and all types of people, deans from Christian denominations, things like that. And this one time, and this is all about the love of God, letting people know that God really likes them, adores them. And there was this one time, I've probably had about 5 experiences in my life where I'm like, I really felt like I experienced God's love. Even though I can talk about it, I can think about it all the time, but to really tangibly experience it, a handful, if I'm really being honest. This was one of those times. So there was this couple there, and I could tell that they wanted to talk to me like all weekend long. And finally, at the very end of it, they said, hey, we really need to talk to you. And I was like, okay. I don't really like talking to people, but let's do it. And so we go outside of this little chapel, and a couple in their 60s, and they sit down, and they go, well, there's just something we need you to know. And I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. And the man was like, well, I'm a pedophile. And as a father with 2 little girls, you could imagine the feelings that I was having. And he had just gotten out of prison after so many years. Wife stood with him, and for whatever reason, they needed to tell me everything. Probably to see if I would still accept them and love them. And I'm just sitting there listening, like kind of dazed and confused a little bit, if I'm just being honest. But then I had maybe one of the best experiences of my life. And as I was sitting there and I was listening to a story, it got to the point in the story where they began to tell me how they experience and still experience being shamed and rejected. And he kept everybody in their life, family, friends, co-workers, everybody, they had no one. No one. And some of you might go, as I was kind of in the moment going, well, yeah, I mean, and then the wife too, no one. And this was one of those moments, and I'm sure you've had these plenty, where you don't even know what's happening, but the presence of God just kind of takes over. And it was one of those moments because he kept going on, and he kept referring to himself as, I am a pedophile. I am a pedophile. I'm a sex offender. I'm a sex offender. And we were like this, like leaning this close to each other. And for whatever reason, I just grabbed his face. And I said, you are not a pedophile. You are a beloved child of God. And our daddy, God, likes you so much. He loves you. He's crazy about you. And I hugged him. But for me, one of the best parts was when he hugged me back. I could literally feel Abba Father, Daddy God, hugging me through him. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I don't know about yesterday, and I sure as heck don't know about tomorrow, but for this one moment, I go, wow, maybe I am a Christian.
Thanks for sharing, you guys. Thank you.
I think a lot of why we're in Advent, stepping in again to themes, is to say, like, is this real? Like, can we know hope to this extent? Can we know peace? Can we know joy? Can we know love? And I think, like, to hear a story like that, there's a lot to wrestle with in that. And we all want that kind of grace and that kind of love. And then we're like, but can I offer it too? And I think that's some of the invitation of Advent, is to experience these things, not just talk about them. What I notice in all of your stories is that there's like a real struggle. Even the joy story wasn't about like a happy, joyful, I mean, it was a happy moment, but it was still a struggle for her, you know? Can you guys kind of speak a little bit to that, of like, in the moment when you were in the struggle, like Danny, when you were in the hospital, where you were in the brokenness, Braden, like, what was the thing that kept that alive for you and in you?
For me, it was really like this place. Like, you came to the hospital once to pray for my brother, and then on top of that, just like everybody else, like, I know Allie, like, she started like a meal train for us, and it was like, I just, like, I don't know, just for me being like super new to the community, like, I'm not saying like you guys weren't, like, I felt like I kind of felt distant at one point, just because, like, all right, I'm 19, like, I'm the youngest, probably one of the youngest ones here, sitting here, but then, I don't know, it just really like came to show how everybody here is just like so supportive. Like, so many people that came out like to my house, brought a meal, who I didn't really have a strong connection to, and these, like, I don't know, it just felt like really good. And then just having like that backbone, just like support from like somebody outside my family, just like really meant a lot to me. Just like I don't know, just usually it's always like family that comes first, and then friends or whatever. But then like some people to me who weren't like complete strangers, but like somewhat came to help. Like, it just, that kind of just like motivated me, like, to just keep on praying and stuff. Like, I just have hope in that. And yeah, I mean, everything turned out good. And yeah, it was really just like this place, and just like just keeping my faith too. It was just like one of like my lowest times, where I was just kind of just like clueless. I wasn't really sure like what to do with myself, and it was just like just seeing like everybody just help me, like supporting me like emotional or whatever. It was just like it really was just like my hope. So yeah, thank you to everyone who like helped, even if you didn't or whatever. You guys all kind of like impacted me in a way, just like I felt. Yeah, everybody's included. But yeah, it was just a lot of things, and just yeah.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, go ahead, Denise.
What's the question?
yeah.
Okay, right.
So just in terms of like how you've been experiencing, for you particularly joy, like what challenges have come up in that, or like what do you find challenging in the midst
Well,
of that.
for this one, I might need tissue. Okay. So bear with me, because this, you might think at first might sound morbid, or it might sound like, where is this going? But I promise you it's leading to joy. I promise you. About, maybe it's been a little over 2 months, my dad passed. And I'd just like to share a snippet of that with you. We were given such grace because my dad had a major heart attack when he was 38, and here he is 91. And so, and he'd had probably 4 heart attacks in between. So it always was, is this the time? You know, is this the time he's going to go? But this time, I sort of knew it was it. We were in the emergency room, and he had the oxygen mask and all of that going, and it was just different. And I'm one of 5 siblings, and no one really wanted to be in that room with him and my mom, because I think everyone knew, and they just did not want to experience that reality. And so as the eldest of 5, of course, I'm there, you know, being the big sister. But it came a point where my dad, I just felt a prompting of God's Spirit, just a prompting. No one had ever talked to him about death yet. We had always been hopeful and always, you can do it, Dad, and, you know, you're the comeback kid. But I felt a prompting just to go up to him, and I kind of gently said, Dad, are you ready to die? And it was scary to say that, but it was also right. You know, it was the right thing. And he looked at me and he nodded and he said, I'm okay. And he goes, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. And then my mom is in the corner, and she freaked out. She starts yelling at me like, you're going to make him die. Stop talking. Don't go there. Stop it. And I just burst out. I said, no. I said, we have to talk about this. We have to. Dad needs to. And he looked at her and he said, I'm okay. And then he pulled my arm, my shoulder in closer, because I don't think he wanted her to hear. He didn't want to hurt her. But he said to me, he said, okay, the mortuary, here's the name of the mortuary. Everything's paid for. He goes, Joe has the card. Just ask Joe for the card. He's got the contact person, you know. And these are in between breaths. And then he says, and I just want Danny Boy played. Just make sure they play. You know, he's from Ireland. You know, he's first generation. So he wanted Danny Boy. And so he said, and I also, he's saying, I want a military burial. And so he was telling me where to go. And so he said, what other songs should I have? And so I said, he goes, I can't think of any more, because he's getting exhausted. And I said, well, what about Ave Maria? And he goes, I love that song. And I said, what about How Great Thou Art? He goes, I love that one too. And then I said, how about Blessed Assurance? And then we just both started crying. It was a kind of cry I've never had. I mean, it was like kind of pounding on his chest, and he was just holding my shoulders. And I have to tell you that in that moment, as sorrowful and as intense, it was extreme joy, because it was life. And I know my dad well. I mean, we've gone through ups and downs and Rockies, and I mean, we know each other authentically, for better and worse. And seeing his peace and seeing his faith, I was able to say, Dad, I'm so grateful to be with you right now, because I know there's a God, but now I know there's a God. And Dad, thank you, because I'm not afraid to die anymore. because like you've paved the road for me. And in it there was just like hope, there was joy, there was peace, and it was all slow motion, but it was fast. And my mom is screaming in the background still, and I'm just blocking her out. And then he pulled me closer, and he looked just right into my eyes, and we had a moment, and he said, "Denise, God bless you." And he said, "I love you so much." And then he pulled me, and he kissed me on the lips. And it was electrical. And it was filled with life and joy. It was amazing. And I try to recapture it because it gives me such a grounding, a power source of like Jesus' joy. And after that, those were the last words he said. He slipped into a coma. And I am just so, so grateful. And I feel that joy and that experience has just grounded me to maybe be that for someone else. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Denise. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
I love both your stories because I think it accentuates, I think, the challenge of all of our words. And I think it's the paradox of the beauty of Jesus coming in. Like to say Jesus' joy, peace, hope, and love is to almost be this like paradoxical truth in a world that it doesn't seem like that. And so for me, the challenge of seeking peace is that we live in a world and we live lives of violence. There's violence everywhere. There's brokenness everywhere. There's injustice everywhere. And to speak peace and to be a person of peace and to long to follow the Prince of Peace feels like the deck is stacked against you. And I think the thing that grounds me amidst that is finding these moments of whether it be peace, hope, joy, and love amidst the world that's broken. I don't know if we'll get to this, but there's a question on the question that you sent of like, when do you experience peace? And I think I experience peace through the laughter of my son. I experience peace through a great Friendsgiving with our community group. I experienced peace when I just did a border pilgrimage similar to what we just did. We're going to do, in San Diego. And I experienced peace when we visit a migrant shelter and we play Jenga with those that are in the migrant shelter waiting for asylum. And I think I experience peace when I see the belovedness of another person. Even that I may be supposed to call my enemy. And that feels like, even as I'm saying it, it feels like really trite and feels really like, well, no duh. But like, I think there's this sense of like, peace is justice and justice is peace and wholeness is peace and peace is wholeness. And finding the little glimpses of that where you can, where I can, that's what pursuing peace means for me.
I'm really taken in each of these stories how it feels so counterintuitive that the person talking about love is like talking about entering into a place of shame. The person talking about joy is talking about entering into this moment of death. The person talking about peace is talking about being those who can step into brokenness. The person talking about hope is talking about patience, about keep showing up, and just how I think to embody the way of Jesus is to be those who can go into the places that seem like the places that we would want to avoid, and how that then becomes this way to show what the kingdom of God looks like, a way of showing who Jesus is, of saying God is with us. We are not alone. Like we we are here as representatives of Jesus and the way of Jesus. And I'm grateful for each of your, not just the story, but the courage that it took to live into that moment. And how, Denise, you said it was just right. Dave, you said it just came over me. There's these moments of knowing that you are in partnership with the Spirit of God, that this is a moment that the Spirit of God is at work, and I'm going to step into that with God. And that's powerful.
Dave, we'll come to you for a final thought, and then Christine's going to set up some time for you all to share. And so why don't you close us?
Okay. Well, I'm pretty convinced that Christianity was only supposed to be a love affair. That's it. These folks, which I loved everything you guys said, would probably say the same thing, but I'm pretty convinced on each of these Advents that peace isn't a feeling, but it's a person. And love isn't just a verb, it's the presence of God. And here's my hope, that right here, right now, right in this moment, you could feel the hands of Jesus on your cheek, looking into your eyes. And if you're willing to have faith as small as a mustard seed right now, you could. Can you picture his eyes? Why don't you close your eyes and picture his eyes looking into yours? He did not come to start a religion. He came to invite you into a love affair. And I think it's something we've always struggled with 2,000 years, and we'll struggle for 2,000 years more, and that is, no, I want to be a good little boy and a good little girl, and I want to really earn your love, and once I get my ducks in a row, then you'll like me more. This is not the gospel. The gospel is this: he just likes you. See, we want to go out and we got stuff to do. We're going to earn it. We're going to go and start a mission, and we're going to do all these things. And the problem is usually this is coming out of our emptiness. But if we just let God love us and let him fill us with that love, whatever's going to happen will overflow into that. We can come here 1 million more Sundays and be here for 1 million more years, but if you don't get this, let him in, let him look into your eyes, and just let him love you.
So normally on Exploration Sunday, we take a chance to let you ask questions of the panel. We do a question and response time. But this Sunday, you're the panel. They have bravely and vulnerably gone first in sharing their stories of hope, joy, peace, and love. And we want to kind of turn the tables this Sunday and open it up for you to share a story of how God has made these themes known to you. And so I just want to give you a minute, even as Dave shared that, you were very gracious. Thank you. And I feel like I got love bombed by you. You're very gracious to affirm me. But I am very aware that this is a community of people, and we have walked through some things together. And even those of you who are just joining us are joining in a community, a family of God who has embodied these themes for one another, and who has encountered Christ and been strengthened by the life of Jesus. And I know that you each have a way that you could bear witness to these themes and God's work in your life. And so I just want to give you a minute to reflect on hope, joy, peace, and love. Which one kind of stuck out to you? Maybe there was a particular story that you felt connected to. And we're going to share the essence of why we connect with that theme. So the essence is like, we don't have time for all the backstory and details. We're just going to kind of maybe share 1 to 3 sentences of how we've experienced this in our life. I'm going to come around with the microphone. If you generally share first, I'm going to invite you to like count to 10. If you generally wait, John's going to count to 30, he just said, okay. If you generally wait to see that no one else is going to talk, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and raise your hand now and be one of the first, okay? Well done, you.
I rarely do this, and I wanted to share a couple weeks ago. I think it was Family Sunday, and we kind of did something similar, and I chickened out. So this is the next opportunity. What I wanted to share was just something that has been. I guess, many of you know I have kind of a stressful job, and that's kind of can be all-consuming at times. And recently had someone, close on my team decide to leave for family reasons, and so that's been very hard, just from a mental standpoint and a workload standpoint. But what I got to do upon her departure was just speak love into her and to affirm her for the choice that she was making, because it was for her family. And I thought that was important. And this isn't to, pat myself on the back, but it was just, I wanted to share it because this was sort of, I think, a reflection of this community and of God to just love on her and to appreciate the time that we had. And that just, the time that we had to work together. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Esther, and I am Jennifer's mom. Some of you I know by name, a lot of you I know by face, and some I've never met. But I've been coming here with Jen off and on frequently for the last couple of years, and the thing that astounded me was in the stories and just looking up at hope, peace, joy, and love. They essentially are characteristics that are so completely eternal. And we don't even have to say they're supernatural or they're spiritual or any of that, but they are eternal. And for me, as a visitor, but I come now and then, I have experienced community with you too as a group, because we spend time when I'm with you doing things of eternal value. So when we're praying together, when we're worshiping the Lord together, when we're talking together, when I see how you minister to my daughter, and I tell all the prayer warriors that where I live 6 hours north of here, and I always tell Jen I have 10 to 14 prayer warriors in an instant that I can call on to pray for you. And I tell all of them where she goes to church and what your community is like, because you have been so sustaining and constant and dependable. But most of all, you've done these things that have eternal value. So I thank you.
Thank you, Esther.
What was the question? Sorry. Yeah, my wife looked at me. She was like, with wide eyes. I'll speak on joy. Yesterday, I feel like sometimes joy is a train that you can jump on and enjoy, or you can watch from the side. And be grumpy. And that's, we were setting up Christmas yesterday. Christmas has finally come to the Kent house. We love Christmas. The only thing that messes up Christmas is my kids. So I was setting up my tree, and man, I had my system where the lights go, and they just messed it up. And I should have been setting up the grump tree. We brought one. Have anybody been to Trader Joe's and bought the grump tree? Nice. That's the one on our table. So that's what I felt like the Grinch on Christmas. I'm outside barbecuing, and my daughter walks into the screen, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And it's hilarious, and I should have laughed, but I got upset. So and my wife lovingly came out and said, "Hey, Ryan, it's okay. I love you, and you can just be as grumpy as you want." No, she actually challenged me, and she said, "You can enjoy what we're doing, or you can miss out on this." And I was so mad, so mad. And I came in, and I was barbecuing, and I was like, "I'm just queuing out here. Like, I need to watch the chicken." And I was hiding, grumpy. And we ended up having dinner, and we had a fantastic time. And I thought later, I was like, man, she was so right. How often do I miss those moments of joy because I'm in my own head, or because I'm grumpy, or because I've got something else that's going on in my heart? And so maybe hopefully some of you jump on the joy train. I'm going to be doing that more often. So here it is.
I feel like that can be code. We'll all just be like, Joy Train. Okay, we probably have time for one or two more. The youth are calling my name.
Hi, I'm Morgan. This is probably a story about love. So in the fall of this year, I started rowing. It was a totally new sport. Most people on my team are like high school, or there's a couple of other 8th graders. So to say it was intimidating would like kind of be an understatement, because I've never rowed before. I went and tried out, and like I was the only person that had like never actually been in a boat. And last week, one of the senior girls was rowing with us because she had gotten a concussion or whatever, and I had like never met her before, but she was sitting in front of me, and she goes up to me and she's like, "Hi, Morgan, I'm so excited to row with you." And I was like, I have never met you before, but the love that you're showing me is like so amazing. So I like run over the board to like see what her name is, because I'm like, you're just being so nice to me. And then she kept talking to me at practice, and she like still goes up to me and says hi. And like the love that she showed me, I was like, oh, that's like what, like, it just was like, it felt like you felt seen. And it was really cool because she's a senior. She could have easily overlooked me and been like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't need this. But like she was looking to make connections with me and like looking to help me feel like a part of the team. And I just felt really touched by that.
We have time for two more. So if you feel like if you resonated with what Andy said and you're holding back, now's the time to put your hand up. Okay.
So I can't quite figure out what I'm exactly trying to say. But your point, I don't remember your name, I'm sorry.
David,
sorry. So David's point about operating out of emptiness when we go out to like do missions or service or something, when we're trying to give in it, we're just more or less trying to kind of bribe God into loving us, was a big one. And I was thinking about that because it had been on my heart in the prayer before this. And in a way, just that we would see all of this loving and loving on people and serving on people and giving them hope, coming alongside them, visiting them in prison as something that we get to do, and yet also recognize that it is for us too, that there are people who are able to come alongside us, that we also need that, and that's okay. And that was really on my heart, because it's kind of this weird juxtaposition that then I thought to myself, well, maybe we're always operating out of emptiness, because God is the one who's full, and we're supposed to be drawing from him. But then I heard about your rowing and this awesome, awesome senior, and I realized, no, sometimes people come alongside you out of abundance. They're not like, oh, I need to help this poor girl because maybe if I help her, God will really love me and I'll be good enough. I mean, she's just actually really skilled and excited about her sport, and sees a young new rower and is excited to row with her and bring her along, because and Paul said, I know how to handle abundance and I know how to handle lack. And I just feel like that's at least something I'm going to be thinking about as I deal with these Advent themes, because whether I feel like I'm operating out of abundance or whether I find myself doing things out of emptiness, God is actually there, I think, with us in both those places. So.
One final opportunity. Austin, thank you.
Hi, my name's Austin, and sorry. And I can't help but think of always my kids, because it's just in a season of craziness with kids, little ones. And the word I'm clinging to is hope. And I think just seeing God, how he's partnering with my little ones, and the hope I have for the generations to come. My 4-year-old has told us that she's having conversations with her classmates about God, and it's just wild to me that they can do that at 4 in their little classroom. And so it gives me so much hope with the ways that God's speaking to them and this community that has allowed them to feel comfortable enough to learn about God, experience him, and I love the fact that she's being challenged in a community that doesn't all possibly believe in him, and being able to have those conversations with her of how that is playing out with her classmates, and how she's getting a chance to teach them about him, and also hear their where they're coming from. So it just gives me hope for, again, like I said, the generations to come, of the ways that they are able to learn and experience him in a peaceful manner. Just lots of hope.
All right. Thank you all for sharing. Let's continue. I love that encouragement as we step into Advent, as far as bringing, recognizing that hope, joy, peace, and love is found in Jesus. And we can bring those true words into those spaces that we're entering into. And so a couple reminders. Braden's going to pray us out with the benediction. But if you have not gotten your Advent box, those are available. If you already have saved your wreath from last year, just grab the envelope. Make sure you grab those on your way out. And then also we'll be right back here tonight at 6 o'clock for our Advent prayer and worship night. It'll be a family service. And so 6 to 7 o'clock right here in this room. Would love to see you tonight. Should we stand?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Redemption Church, may you experience joy amidst sorrow, hope amidst waiting. May you experience your belovedness. May you experience the paradox of peace. And may the peace, the joy, the hope, and the love of the Lord Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storm. May he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May he bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors. Go in peace.